Within the Sonic community, there are multiple versions of him, such as SONIC.EXE and FLEETWAY Sonic. It is my job to cover who would win in a fictional slam. In a void of completely darkness and nothingness, there was one single spirit that wanted to be something, and that spirit saw the spirit or world of the Sonic franchise, and he took it to his own hands and made his own reality of what we know now as SONIC.EXE. Now this folk, or bro, whatever you want to call him, has created several realities that he tortures his victims in. We've seen him torture Knuckles, Tails, and even Eggman, even though he is a little fat, but that's Eggman. Now, EXE's whole game was released in 2012, and while that was released, it gained tons of popularity among the Sonic community. Popular YouTubers even took gameplay of it, but the creator, JC, was found out. Actually, let's not talk about that guy. Let's just pretend he was never there. Moment of silence for him, okay? Okay, now that that's over with, Sonic.EXE, he made his own world, the Sonic world. As I said before, he tortures victims. He pretty much just thinks he's a god, which in his verse, I guess he probably is a god. He creates universes, merges the void together, can infinitely travel through the void. Like, what's there not to think of him? He is actually a genuine fucking god. This guy is genuinely God himself in his own universe. He is an extremely cocky individual, though. He will play with his victims, toy with them, and if he's not careful, if he goes against someone perceived strong, they are beating the living hell out of him because he's just so cocky. But it's okay because there's no one that can really stack up to him. He really just fights people at like human level, or like generally just can spin dash like Sonic. Like, it's not super Sonic or anything super massive. So maybe he has some good abilities, okay? My bad for stuttering, but he has good abilities. Such as teleportation, soul hacks, he can make realities, reality warping, he's insanely fast. There's not too much to cover about him, but he can have fire manipulation as seen in the flames and clips. He's also extremely smart when he wants to be. And he is generally immortal. As stated before, he's an immortal being who really can't be killed. But as stated before, though, he can generally reality laws. So, and also when he per se can go into his opponents, when he kills them, he can shapeshift. He shapeshifted into Sonic before. He can probably shapeshift into Tails, Eggman, Knuckles. The list can go on and on. But as I said before, he's cocky. You know what else is bad? He haunts his opponents. Meaning, if his opponent is per se stronger than him, or per se faster, or both of them, he's gonna have to take action quickly, which is a huge problem for Sonic.EXE. So generally, he might be a little cocky, but just know, when he sees danger, he will end it quickly because he is just a god himself. A long time ago, there was a character, let's just skip to the point, Sonic. When Sonic was exposed to too much chaos energy, it created an alternate persona in him. Or you could just say alternate Sonic, whatever you like more. and this created FLEETWAY Sonic. But he can't go in that FLEETWAY form unless there's a lot of stress on him. When there's stress on him, it just happens, and FLEETWAY goes into FLEETWAY Sonic, as we all know and love. Now that we know who FLEETWAY Sonic is, and of course, his super form, let's just dig into a lot of his stuff. But I'll start off with the super form. I know it's kind of early, but let's just get the big thing out of the way. Now, in terms of overall anger, he transforms it when he's stressed and angry. But when he gets back to his normal form, he doesn't remember anything. And this anger or stress that this form leads to is so bad that he's almost killed multiple of his friends, such as Knuckles, Tails, and even Amy, which is extreme considering those three are what I would consider his best friends. And eventually, his best friends, Tails and the rest, found a way to separate this chaos energy from Sonic and send it to what's called the zone. But nobody would have guessed that the chaos energy in Sonic or Super Sonic made his own form and broke out of it and ran wild, destroying and beating the living hell out of Sonic and the rest. And this is definitely one of the strongest versions of Sonic. Now, we might as well get straight into the feats because this is a really impressive Sonic. In his super form, he can easily run and ram right through ships without any damage. And also, he stopped an entire volcano from erupting by just his speed alone. And to make his strength even more crazy, it was stated that he can destroy an entire planet. And he can also survive the entire sun exploding. And as stated by himself, he's invincible, but who knows? Another one is he has enhanced hearing, as he could hear things in the ships that he was approaching and of course ram right through. Super Sonic could push the entire moon at Mobius at high extreme speeds, which would roughly, from what I personally think, would put him at around dwarf star level. Now, for probably his most impressive feat, a depowered Super Sonic took all the Chaos Emeralds, detonating in his face and absorbed the energy, which is generally fucking insane to say the least. I'd personally say I'd probably scale that around multiverse, give or take, given the Chaos Emeralds did bring the multiverses together. Now, Super Sonic also outran a Chaos Wave, which was spreading through infinite time and space, which was going to overwrite an entire dimension internally. And not to mention, this dimension was also infinite. Now to mention his two big abilities, which is Chaos Control, which stops time fully, and also Chaos Wave, which pretty much sends an infinite amount of chaos around an entire multiverse, which you could say destroys it, and it's without a doubt his strongest move. So now that that's over with, there is one last thing we can address. The Hyper form, which you could say is canon since there's statements of all the main stuff being kind of canon to it. It just really depends on what you buy and stuff. But even if we don't, he's still incredibly strong. In general, he doesn't waste time destroying his victims. His only problem is he does not resist soul manipulation. And also, he doesn't play around. As I said before, he don't play around. So, just remember, when you're out there fighting, FLEETWAY Sonic is always ready for you. And when his super side takes over, he won't waste a second tearing you apart. Now, I do want to say, before the fight starts, please, huge shout out to Sonan. This guy is a G. Please subscribe to him. He makes great animations. He made the animation for this episode. Subscribe to him. It would mean a lot to me and him.
What's wrong? You will die in my hands.
Wow. How does a god get taken out by a fucking explosion? Project side, this fight was actually really tricky to find out the winner, given EXE can reality warp, and great upon all, soul manipulation, which is something FLEETWAY does not resist in the slightest. But there's a problem. EXE has to be able to touch FLEETWAY for this to really happen, and given the huge speed difference, I just don't see any of this happening. Now, if you get in close, yeah. But remember, this guy is incredibly cocky. And that fucks him up in every single way you can imagine. And you know what? Let's go over stats. And for the three main stats I think matter the most in this fight are strength, speed, and hacks and abilities. So let's start off with strength. Now, sure, EXE can work reality, but at the same time, that's nothing compared to FLEETWAY's multiversal feat, where he took the emeralds exploding in his face while he was depowered. And let alone, we know the statements about the emeralds. That's at least multiversal plus, which just generally wipes everything EXE has. So, strength, without a doubt, would go to FLEETWAY. Now, into our abilities and hacks, which this was actually a pretty close category, considering EXE has soul hacks, which is generally great for this fight, and he has teleportation, reality warping, shape-shifting, but FLEETWay has chaos control and chaos wave. Chaos wave could wipe EXE out without doubt, and it wouldn't even be close. But however, I'm gonna edge this out to EXE because soul hacks could just beat FLEETWay easily. But that doesn't matter for our next category, speed. Now EXE has decent speed, don't get me wrong, traveling through the void. That's pretty much infinite, but that's nothing compared to FLEETWay outrunning the chaos wave thing. That fucking took over the infinite dimension internally, which let's be honest, that could give him like the Speed Bullets EXE at any time in the fight. Since he is one to kill fast, he will kill fast. So that settles it. Fleetway gets speed, and Fleetway wins. But I'm not gonna hate towards anything. This is definitely a good matchup. And please don't attack me in the comments, EXE fans. But however, Fleetway just honestly was way too strong and way too fast. And Chaos Wave, of course, you could just wipe EXE out at any given moment that Fleetway wants to use it. And not to mention the Hyper Form, though you probably won't even need that because Super just goes right through anything EXE has. So the winner is Fleetway Sonic. Thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you join the Discord and like and subscribe if you really feel like it. But get ready for next time.
But this is my time, it's time for